So it's been a little bit since we talked about Sonic Rangers. We've been in a little bit of a dry season when it comes to that topic, primarily just because ever since we've seen Iizuka talk about how it might have been a little bit too early for them to announce the game, I think I completely understand that scenario. They didn't really have too much to show, and sometimes it's okay, to show things off when there isn't really anything to show, just so you can let your community know that there is, something in the works. That's why they've been kind of radio silent. But I can understand where Iizuka was coming from. Now, here I have a leak that has been going pretty rampant on Twitter the last couple of days. And from what I've seen, this isn't one of those bogus ones that just red flags everywhere. This is one, while I'm not sure I believe a couple things in it, I am pretty, saying this is seeming a lot more believable than a lot of those other ones you'll see online. Now, again, because this is a leak, take everything I say about, in regards to Sonic Rangers here with a grain of salt. None of this has been confirmed until Sega themselves makes a trailer, says it in an interview, whatever, then you can call it, official. This is not official. So letting everybody know that here, I'm simply going over the leak and giving my opinion on it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at this new Sonic Rangers leak from Reddit. All right, second time as of late I'm bringing out the streaming layout, but this is the one I have here. You can pause it yourself and read it, but I'm going to go over each and everything. The game isn't actually called Sonic Rangers. That was just a code name during development. This is extremely common. This is nothing anyone could honestly come up with that reasoning. Happens in the gaming industry all the time. So if the game wasn't actually called Sonic Rangers, that doesn't surprise me. We found the name Sonic Rangers in the metadata for the trailer, but that's because it was the code name for the game. A lot of times they just have a code name for a project when they haven't given the final name for the project just yet. So that makes total sense. I played some of it, though experience wasn't as extensive as the previous people. This guy assuming this is, those other people actually did, play the game. Demo starts with a CG opening. It's an extended version of what you saw in the teaser trailer. This makes complete sense as well, because I feel like it would lead to a little bit of context of what's going on. A lot of demos kind of do that. If it doesn't start you at the very beginning of the game, it usually will start with the CG opening for the game, or at least a variation of it. And then you'll go into just a random part of the game, kind of like what Tales of Arise did. However, next it says game is set on some newly discovered island. I think this is for the best. I kind of don't necessarily want to go somewhere we've been to before unless it's a new variation of it. So not much to say on that topic. I'm really hoping that it's in depth at least. Spring Valley is the first stage, and it's this game's Green Hill equivalent. Now, this one I expected, but for some reason, there's something that's ringing as, I don't know, maybe as, it seems strange to me, but the aspect or the prospect that Green Hill, have at least an equivalent of Green Hill being in this game is no surprise. I don't think anybody would be surprised about that whatsoever. It's Sega, it's Sonic. They're gonna put some kind of Green Hill equivalent in this game, especially after doing it with Forces. It's gonna happen. So even if this isn't necessarily true and it's not called Spring Valley or it's not even the first stage, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some equivalent of Green Hill in the game. Metallic Metropolis looked like Speed Highway but at sunset. That sounds beautiful. The signs in the level imply it's Station Square. That's kinda sus. I don't know why, but I find that so hard to believe. If you find that one hard to believe, let me know in the comments, because for some reason as I'm recording this I can't put my finger on specifically why I don't think so. Maybe it's because I don't feel like they'll reference Station Square. Maybe, especially when, it depends on the continuity of this. Are we continuing off of Forces, or the comic of Forces, which I believe takes place after, the comic kind of take place after Forces. So maybe it takes place after that, or it's completely new with some new continuity. I don't know, especially since Iizuka had said that Rangers will kind of, it's how Sonic will, be going forward, So this is going to orchestrate how Sonic will be for the next 10 years. So I really think that this kind of makes sense. If it is some kind of, reboot, that's something I'm saying on my own, then I don't know if we'd reference Station Square, but I don't know. It could completely do that. I have no idea. Game visually looks on par with Unleashed, though I played it on a PS5, so I would expect it to look just as good, if not better. Now, This I also kind of find hard to believe, primarily because they've kind of ditched how the art style of Sonic has gone from Unleashed forward. They've kind of gone for a different style that we've seen more in Forces. Though Forces is the newest game, 3D Sonic game, I still would say Unleashed. Most people would agree Unleashed is the most visually appealing game. Though I do think Forces is a good, it's a good looking game, but the actual texture detail in Unleashed I find to be far better. And, again, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, they were powerful systems, but the fact that they can play games like The Last of Us that are, that are super well detailed and stuff like that, and it couldn't really run Sonic Unleashed, I don't want to blame, the game necessarily for this, or I don't want to blame anything in particular for that. I mainly just think that I think it's just because Sonic Unleashed was a very demanding game. With as textured as that game was, you were going really fast. So the rendering process for that game was probably really intense for the PS3 and Xbox to handle. Though the Xbox had it a lot easier than the PS3, they both really suffered from frame rate issues and stuff like that. So I'm hoping if they did go back to this, the PS5 and PC would be the absolute best place to do it, because these systems are much, much more powerful than those older systems were. Action stages are more like Unleashed Generations than Colors and Forces, but very little 2D in stages, from what they played. I love this. As some people, might know already, I am a fan of a lot of 3D Sonic games. However, I would always still prefer, if the game has a boost, I would still prefer more 3D than 2D in it. That was why I call Colors my favorite 2D Sonic game, because there is more 2D in that game than 3D. And when there is 3D, it's just very, very brief. So, I'm really happy about this. I think action stages sound really cool. So I'm really wondering how they're going to go about it. I don't think it'll be a carbon copy of what Generations and Unleashed did, but I'm really hoping that, I can see more about this. World map is huge. It wasn't even the full map, but it looked around Hyrule size in Breath of the Wild. There's a typo right there from the glimpse I saw. That is something really good to hear, especially since I talked about that in my open world Sonic game video. But something still feels weird. It's like, I know how I could make an open world Sonic game, from the ideas man kind of perspective, not from a necessarily programming perspective. However, I still wonder how Sega is going to go about it. Unless Sega watched my video, which they could. Shout out to y'all sponsoring the channel a lot. I still want to say, I don't know, but if it's true, that is pretty beautiful. Ranking system works like previous games. Not much about it. I think that's fine. I think a lot of the 3D Sonic games do have pretty fair rankings, so I like it. Devs are huge fans of Demon Slayer, so Sonic will finish bosses in a similar fashion to Tanjiro. Now, from the surface, this sounds like super out of left field, and I would completely just disregard everything after this. But one thing in particular that really makes me think that this could be possible is the fact that the new Demon Slayer fighting game, which, has, all those super finishes and stuff like that, is being done by Sega, or Sega is over that project. I know obviously there are other, another company working on it and stuff too, but that's still Sega's game too. So that kind of makes me wonder, are they using, what they've used for Demon Slayer in, trying to apply it to Sonic? That would be really cool, and especially since it doesn't really affect things too much gameplay wise, but just purely aesthetic and making Sonic look cooler. And more moments to make Sonic look cool is, who doesn't want that? Visually, it's a great idea. Doesn't affect the gameplay either. So even if it makes it, there's no risk for it to not feel like Sonic either. So I like that. Music is a mix of Jun and Otani's style. I think that's going to be good. It's a Sonic game. I'm not too worried about the soundtrack. There are very, very rare occasions where a Sonic OST isn't that great, with like Sonic Chronicles. But other than that, I think, most of it's going to be a good experience. Game is set on Earth with humans. You can see them in murals like the two worlds crap is a thing of the past, apparently. Like Ian said, okay, the two worlds thing is kind of gone. Now, I'm not too surprised. Again, they talked about that, but I still like the two worlds philosophy, but it's gone. So don't really have much else to say about that. The human ghost girl is your companion throughout the game. Like Chip, though you radio in with Tails, Knuckles, Amy, etc. throughout. Not really sure what the context for this is going to be. I'm assuming they're talking about the human ghost girl from Night of the Werehog, if you guys remember that back then. I guess. I don't know why. This is not the first time I've seen her referenced in these leaks either. Like completely different people bringing up this one specific thing from Sonic's past, and I have no idea why. So it makes me feel like this is going to be the case. And especially just like also like what was said earlier, the open world thing is something everyone is saying. So even if at least only one of them was true, that still has me believe, why are all of them talking about it being an open world game? That's why if you're going to believe any of those, I think those two are probably the ones I would believe the most, just because everyone keeps saying it, you know. That's what I think, at least. Game is implied to reveal the origin of the Chaos Emeralds to some extent. I mentioned this in my video, that I would really like them to expand on the origin of the Chaos Emeralds as a story plot point, because they have never, ever been really touched on. Not from what I've seen, not in the games at the very least. I can't really talk about the supplementary material, but I don't remember them ever talking about them in any of the TV shows. But I would love that. I absolutely love that. I have zero problems with that. Game has the same progression system as Adventure 1 in 06. Do things in the main world and you'll unlock an action stage. That's what they called them. So I think this is cool. I think, you know, this is exactly what I brought up in my video. I think you need some kind of progression system when you have an open world game, because again, it makes you want to do more, you know, it makes you want to do more within its world. That way you can unlock cool things and more experiences. And I think that's just an obvious design choice when you have this kind of game. Colors Ultimate functions as a glimpse of its customization system, except here things like Sonic Shoes, homing attack, and boost can be customized. Sonic Shoes from SA2 and Riders can be equipped. This is where I started thinking, okay, I don't know, that sounds a little too good to be true. You know, I completely believe the Colors Ultimate function thing, because, you know, them bringing in this customization thing, this makes too much sense. This is obviously something that you make easy. You know, this is not the first game to do it either. Forces really, you know, put in that we can really start customizing Sonic and his friends. So I really do think that the customization thing is going to be a thing. I truly do think so. The Sonic Shoes from SA2 and Riders, however, this makes too much sense. That's the thing about it. It makes too much sense. I don't know if I believe that Sega would actually do that. I mean, maybe if they made it paid DLC, they're going to be on that Atlas syndrome, but I don't know. It makes too much sense. It'd be too cool. I don't know if I believe it. I'd like to believe it, but again, taking things with a grain of salt here. Voiceover wasn't done, but it sounded like Roger had done some new voice clips. So, okay, this makes sense too, primarily because anyone who follows game development knows voiceover is one of the last things done for the game. You know, it's not the last thing, but it's one of the final things that's done before the final phase of polishing a game. So this is why I think that this person had played it's obviously not in the final stage yet because the voiceover wasn't done, but they do use some new voice clips and stuff like that during gameplay just to make sure that audio balancing and sound mixing and stuff will work at that point in time. And so they can get a greater feel of, you know, when they're, you know, doing sound design for, you know, combat and open world stuff like that, you know, because if you have Sonic and, you know, you're playing the game, but the sound design doesn't have that crunch to it, then I feel like that's something, you know, would make the game suffer. You know, there's a bunch of different aspects and technical aspects of things that would make that work, but I do think that having little bits of new voice clips done would make sense, and it wouldn't be fully done. Like if there was some cutscenes, it probably wouldn't have the song, you know, at least not that specific song. And a lot of the dialogue you hear during gameplay and stuff like that, like the woo and stuff like that, a lot of that stuff probably isn't fully done. Eggman plays a part in the game, but it's obvious he isn't the main villain. The villain is some ancient primordial thing that wasn't given a name in the demo I played. So this makes me feel like the game is going to be like an open world Sonic Unleashed, because that's what this is kind of making me think. Some primordial ancient thing, and Eggman isn't the true main villain or anything, but I don't know. It's weird. I truly think, I mean, obviously I think Eggman's going to be a villain. I don't think he's going to be playing the role as someone helping Sonic, but I do think that I kind of find this believable. mainly because I think it'd be okay to bring in somebody who isn't Eggman again, and hopefully this ancient primordial thing isn't being conned by Eggman or being manipulated by him or anything like that, because honestly I kind of want Eggman to sit on the sidelines and being the one who's being strung around and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I feel like it'd be a nice refreshing taste for a Sonic story. But that's everything from the leak. I honestly feel like I believed more stuff than I didn't. And I think I have a greater, because I didn't actually read this ahead of time. I only saw a couple of things from what some people were responding to it. So I knew a couple points, like the customization option I knew, and I knew about the Demon Slayer thing. That was basically for what I knew from the most part. But so I'd have to say I believe more stuff than I don't with this. But I still feel like there's no way that, I'm wondering how are they even able to post this stuff, because I do think that obviously, testers and stuff like that are going to be numerous, and they have to go under NDAs and stuff like that when they do these things. But how do they get away with this? That's what I'm mainly, and obviously there has to be a way to get away with it. Leakers are everywhere for basically any kind of game, so it's not too surprising. But I'm just wondering, how is this possible? And how does it keep happening with Sonic? That's just my main question here. But again, take everything with a grain of salt. I'm not necessarily talking about whether this makes sense or not, or this is gonna happen or not. I just thought it was a really cool read, and I really, really hope a lot of things on this list do end up happening. And I just have fun talking about Sonic Rangers. I can talk about stuff that I do and don't like about Sonic all day, of games that already exist. But it's not too often we get to talk about games that don't exist. That's why a lot of the Sonic videos that I do have are always about, games that don't exist. Sonic Adventure 3 and Sonic Rangers, or a new Sonic and the Black Knight 2, or Shadow the Hedgehog 2, and things like that. I just think making these concepts and stuff like that are really cool. So I guess you could say I'm kind of like these leakers, except instead of, claiming them to be what you experienced, they're more so what I'd like to see in them. And I feel like that's a fun topic for Sonic. Sonic is, kind of a character you could put him in a bunch of different scenarios, and I think it'd be really cool. But this video's going on long enough. Again, I said on Twitter, I don't know how to make short videos anymore. There was a time when I couldn't make a video longer than 3 minutes, and now I'm dang near over 20 minutes now. I'm sure it'll be shorter when I edit it down, but still. That's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you believe anything from this leak. Pinpoint the stuff. Get all kinds of specific. I don't care. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce, and remember everyone to play some games, have some fun, and enjoy your day today.